Our text is the gospel lesson for today from the 5th chapter of Mark. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. There's something that we humans just don't like. It's waiting. What's the worst part about being in the doctor's office? Waiting. We love fast food, there's no waiting. We abhor being stuck in traffic. Consider one more thing to that list that you should add that you don't like to wait for. God. Have you ever waited for a prayer to be answered or a need to be addressed and God just doesn't seem to do anything about it? It may seem like He's never going to do anything about it. For those who don't like to wait, like my example of the worst sinner in the world, that should be sitting up here, and me next to him. Our Old Testament reading for today has got to be hard to hear. The Lord is my portion, therefore I will hope in Him. And here comes the shocker. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. It is good to wait. Yes. But we're also reminded that the Lord is good to those who wait for Him, the soul who waits to seek Him. For though He causes grief, He will have compassion according to the abundance of His steadfast love. We've got to keep that in mind. As we follow Jairus and Jesus, the Holy Spirit is going to open our ears to hear the truth of the Old Testament reading, that in faith it is good to wait. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. We meet Jairus. Jairus is not in a good way. His daughter is sick, gravely ill. Being a synagogue ruler, he probably had the wherewithal to be able to get the best medicine available, but it didn't work. And you heard about this guy, Jesus, who seems to be healing people. So he goes, puts his pride aside, and goes into a large crowd, and he gets down on his knees in front of Jesus and pleads earnestly with him, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, that she may be well and live." At that very moment, Jairus is no mighty man, no man of promise. He was just a daddy who loved his little girl, and he was a dad that was faced with the sickening reality that he could do nothing for the person that he wanted to do the most for.
Can you see?
Jairus went to the right place. He went to Jesus. The Lord is good to those who wait for Him, the soul who seeks Him. And Jesus agrees to go to the house of Jairus. You know, most of us, like most Christians, have no trouble in seeking the Lord in hope. The problem comes with what follows: waiting. I'm sure that Jairus meant, "Come make me now." However, it seems as soon as Jesus and Jairus begin their walk to the house, the waiting begins. Because among that large crowd is a woman that has a need. A disease for 12 years that she has spent everything on, to no avail, and she's getting worse. In faith, she too looks to Jesus. She thinks, if I just touch the fringe of this garment, I'm going to be made well. She touches the fringe, and she's healed. But Jesus, perceiving what has happened, stops. He wants to know who touched his garments. Hey, what difference does it make? She's healed. Let's get out of here. My daughter's in need. But Jesus finds every person important. And He doesn't want just to heal her physically. He wants to give her something else. He wants to make sure she knows that she also has salvation. And so when she steps forward, it says to her, daughter. Good relationship word, huh? Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. Her faith looked to and held on to Jesus. What was Jairus thinking? I might have tried to feel happy for the woman, but in my great patience, I would have said, come on. Let's get out of here. My daughter's sick. She's dying. We don't have time for this. And while Jesus is still speaking, there comes that someone who, with tremendous insensitivity, blurts out, your daughter's dead. Why trouble the teacher anymore? Those very words probably knocked Jairus back to his knees, not in hope, but in deep grief. I'm too late. I waited too long. Hey, it's your fault, Jesus. You waited too long. Jesus hears the announcement, and he ignores it. Jesus ignores death. Jesus turned and spoke to Jairus. He spoke words for us to hold on to when our trial comes. Jesus said, do not fear, only believe. And Jesus got Jairus up and keeps on walking with those divine-filled words, do not fear, only believe. And Jesus holds on to Jairus the whole distance. For we remember that faith not only comes from God to us, but it has its real substance and power because we are in God's gracious hand. And Jairus held on. His daughter was dead. Yet Jairus, in faith, held on to Jesus. When they arrived at the house, the reaction to the tragedy of the child's death was in full swing. There's full-blown mourning as the people openly cried and wailed blindly. But Jesus, when presented with this commotion, paused and once more calmly announced, the child is not dead, but sleeping. Well, that brought the mourning to an end quickly and replaced it with laughter. In much the same way, people laugh at what Jesus says today. The mourners had no faith. But Jesus, the Lord of life, took Jairus and his wife, as well as Peter, James, and John, into the room where the little girl lay dead. What could be done here? Jesus simply reached in, took her by the hand, and said to her, Talitha Kumi, which is Aramaic for little girl, get up. And she got up. All of this. And the people were completely astonished. The waiting is over. The Lord has answered. The Lord had come. He brought life, joy, and peace with him. He is the Lord of life, the one who did not then, nor does he ever come running to answer death's call. Instead, death answers to him in his time and on his terms. Now, Jairus was certainly praising God. But I wonder if after some reflection, Jairus, the synagogue leader who knew his scriptures well, may have had a couple of verses going through his mind. The Lord is my portion. Therefore I will hope in him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. See, all of us come to a day, what a quandary that pains our hearts and cuts our soul. Maybe it really is a daughter or a son who is ill or who dies and is not raised back to life by Jesus just yet. Maybe it's an ailment that we ourselves are facing, or a chronic condition that we have had for many years. In this event, we get a glimpse of what the Lord is doing for us. Remember Jesus and Jairus. Specifically, call to mind our Lord's cross in which he closed his eyes in our death so that we could awaken to eternal life. Remember his resurrection as a sign that death has been defeated. Remember to be in his word of comfort and to be with him where he is present at his table with grace in time of need. Remember that the Lord is good to those who seek him. Remember that though he causes grief, he will have compassion according to the abundance of his steadfast love. Or you can simply remember the words that Jesus said. Do not fear. Only believe. Believe in the Lord of love, life, Jesus Christ. This doesn't mean that God's going to come along and solve every one of your earthly problems in a time and a way that you want it solved. Jairus was made to wait because Christ had something better in mind. You too may be made to wait, not just for a little while, but perhaps for a long while. God's answer to your prayer in this life might be the gift of endurance, learning patience, or being a witness to others through your suffering. But seek him. Wait quietly. He is your portion. Because Jesus died for you, taking away the sins that separated you from God, you are reconciled to him. He will never leave you or forsake you. Your faith is holding you in the right place with a glimpse to the future, what lies in store for you and me on the last day, what is already ours now through faith in Jesus. Perfect healing and resurrection from the dead. In faith, we look to the day when he's going to reach down into our death and take us by the hand and wake us from the slumber and say to each of us, child, I say to you, arise. For now we must trust and wait, and then wait some more and trust. And that is a good thing when we're waiting quietly for the salvation of the Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.